这个商会很清楚的定位，它是设计马来西亚各族的商家有兴趣到中国经贸和投资的一个未来的两国的一个发展的新动力，必然是来自高科技，包括于人才的培养。
马中总商会青年团是在2003年4月份成立，并在2018年我们改名为青年企业家委员会青企会，以更贴近企业家的形象。作为青年的商业平台，青企会也通过举办各种各样的活动，让他们装备好自己，迎接更多的商机。
我觉得21世纪女企业家通过这个平台走出马来西亚，然后走入全中国。我们不只是要学习如何做一个成功的女企业家，更重要的是我们要如何成为一个更有价值的女企业家。
As a platform for connecting private enterprises and government resources, the MCCC has been maintaining close contact with the government departments of the two countries to ensure the exchange of resources and projects, investing in investment opportunities, encouraging and implementing the international expansion strategy.
马中关系源远流长，经过了45年的这个紧密合作，经贸之间的这个成长，马中的关系呢更上一层。我们在未来展望双边友好邦国的关系，朝向新的里程碑迈进。
As a platform for international interaction, the professional teams of the association and the 9 state administrative branches have successfully encouraged numerous numbers of Chinese investors to collaborate with local entrepreneurs over the years.
MCCC being a focused China-Malaysia trade organization, it opens up a new avenue for us to look at trading with China. China is a country that we cannot ignore. It's humongous and the trade opportunities are big.
MCCC not only enables Malaysian entrepreneurs to experience the prosperity of Malaysia-China business, but also enables the Chinese entrepreneurs to experience the diversity of Malaysian culture. This has boosted the confidence of cooperating with local businesses, therefore strengthening trade development. In order to truly understand China's economic status, MCCC led local entrepreneurs on a visit to the commercial hub in Nanjing, China, and to meet the local entrepreneurs there. MCCC started a course related to the investments in China and Malaysia, organizing the One Belt, One Road English Forum. MCCC also organized a Greater Glory 45th anniversary of Malaysia-China diplomatic relations to celebrate the close relations and the rich historical ties, to further encourage the economic development and maintain the high accelerated growth between Malaysia and China.
马中总商会自1990年成立以来，积极地发挥桥梁和纽带的作用。今天的中马关系已经进入了新的历史阶段，必将迎来更大的发展机遇和更广阔的发展空间。
The rapid growth and increase of business activities in China make it a globally coveted market. Malaysia's strength lies in its stable, growing economy and multicultural environment.
3, 2, 1. 对于马中总商会未来的发展，马中总商会一定要尽量的有一个机制来够授权给我们的各个委员会
各州的州分会，让他们有这个领域、这个舞台去表现他们各自的才能。这一点是我们这个总商会会成功的一个要素。
Regardless of the business nature, choosing only the strongest and advanced platform is the most effective method to venture into any foreign market.
A very good evening, everybody. We have actually welcome to the Malaysian-China Chambers of Commerce webinar series 16 titled China Post-COVID, What is in Need for Malaysian Businesses? Today, we are very honored to have three distinguished speakers to spend their time sharing their knowledge and insight with us. My name is Eugene Roy Joseph, representing MCCC. The first speaker is all the way from Beijing, China, Puan Razida Hamid Abdul Razak, which she is the Trade Commissioner from MATRADE, Beijing, China. The second distinguished speaker is Dato Chong, which is a regional chief representative from ASEAN from the M-Bound Think Tech division. And lastly, but obviously not the least, a very distinguished and prominent lawyer currently based in China, Mr. Fung, which is also currently the chairman of Malaysian Chambers of Commerce and Industrial in China. And of course, we are privileged to be moderated this particular session by Tengku Syaril Tengku Anand, which is the current Chief Executive Officer of Biotropics Malaysia Berhad. Without further ado, I'll pass on the session to our moderator for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullah and good evening. Welcome to MCCC's webinar on China commercial updates. As said earlier, we have three very experienced speakers tonight. All have first-hand experience with what is happening between Malaysia and China. Although the title today says post-COVID, we are really not yet totally out of the dumps, and many countries out there are still suffering badly from this pandemic. However, both Malaysia and China are doing pretty well in managing the outbreak and are looking at ways to stimulate the economy. Additionally, there are also some interesting geopolitical dynamics between China and other countries, such as the US and others, presenting Malaysia some interesting prospects. So we thought it could be interesting to find out what is happening out there, what and where are the opportunities. The speakers will give their talks, and after that, we will have the Q&A sessions. You may post the questions online. We will try to finish by 9:30 p.m. tonight. So I will introduce the three speakers, all of them now, and after that, we'll continue with the talk. The first speaker is Puan Razida Hanim Abdul Razak. Puan Razida Hanim is from the state of Jelapang Padi Negara, Alostak, Kedah. She joined MATRADE in 1993 and was one of the pioneer batch of MATRADE then, previously known as Maxpo. Currently, Puan Razida Hanim is the Trade Commissioner in MATRADE's Beijing office since 2016. During these 4 years, she has seen China fast-growing economies and will share with you her updates and the impact and opportunities post-COVID-19 in China. Our second speaker, Dato Chong. Dato Ong, born in Johor Bahru, initially started his career in the civil service, including as the Minister Councillor in MITI and the Embassy of Malaysia in Beijing. That's in 2012. Dato Ong now heads the Regional Research Centre of N-Bound, based in Kuala Lumpur since last year. This year, this centre is part of the N-Bound Consulting Group, which is the largest multinational independent think tank in China with seven offices in the country. The group focuses on public policy research covering geopolitics and international relations, urban and social development, industrial issues, and macroeconomy. So, without further ado, please welcome our first speaker, Puan Razida.
Okay, thank you, Yang Berbahagia Tengku Syahrin, and then my fellows speakers, Dato Ong, Tuan Wheels, and then Mr. Eugene. And I would like to thank Malaysia-China Chamber of Commerce for this session. I forward to have this platform for us to exchange. Okay. Did you see the slide? Sorry. Sorry, I have a problem with my slide. Sorry, can somebody help me? I cannot go back to the... Hello?
Is it you need to...
Sorry.
The organizer need to unpresent the... Oh, click the share screen. Can you click the share screen?
Yeah, I cannot go back to the main screen just now.
There's a share screen at the bottom.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Sorry for that.
Okay.
Okay. Very good evening again to everyone. Okay. Okay. I just start with this. I will be touching a bit about the backgrounds of our COVID-19 outbreak and also the impacts and also the opportunities. So let me share with the audience, the brief recap of the China COVID-19 outbreak. So just a quick one. China was in the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak since mid of January 2020. And then the first patients which was experienced symptom was discovered on December 1st, 2019. And then the situations of lockdown has started in Wuhan in January 23rd. So as January 29, the province region has actively activate first level emergency response. And also to every residents need to remain home to avoid the infections. And then by March 9, China has reported about 80,755 infection cases. So the days increase in new cases just 19, which has signaled that the government has managed to contain the epidemics gaining on the ground. And then as March 25, China has lifted the lockdown, and then for Wuhan's follow on the April 8, 2020. Okay. So basically most of the manufacturings in China were closed because of Chinese New Year's. And then basically people are prepared for the Chinese holidays, and public transportation such as aviations, the speed trains, road are ready to carry all these passengers back home. And then, of course, the tourism, entertainment and industries are ready for business for Chinese New Year holidays. And then for these particular events, the close has been like 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after, which has made the outbreaks situations, given the fact that almost all the manufacturing and business and traveling were minimized and restricted. So China economy at the first quarter of 20 is hit heavily, and the bilateral trade, especially for Malaysian manufacturers that are highly dependent on raw material, has also been affected. Okay, this is strict control measures that are being imposed by the government. Chinese holiday has been extended, and then people are required to work from home. And then school, universities, nurseries, and all the training institute were replaced with online schooling, as well as the cinema, theme park are also closed. And then public transport was cancelled or either limited. And then group gathering was also prohibited. Face-to-face meeting are not allowed. And then business travel also are not encouraged. More on the online video conference are preferred. And then this also has made some of the business manufacturings closed and disrupted because of this supply network, domestic and globally. So during these periods, China has problems in having this supply in the countries, because China production capacities of the markets, which is about 20 million unit per day, or the annual 50% of the global productions has been stopped because of this COVID-19, and then facing the shortage during this outbreak. So Malaysia MATRADE officers in China has been receiving a lot of inquiries from the local government and also SOE to also supplies all these medical disposal product for Malaysia. So you can see there's quite a number of lists that we received. And then Malaysia has been a major import source of under the surgicals and medical glove, which is about 50% of the China market. So okay, the next one is this also to show the glance situation in China during the outbreak. You can see that because of limitations of the mask, panic buying, mask is, people are queuing, one person's allowed to buy only one pack of mask. And then of course, everywhere, like we have in Malaysia, temperature check, and then everybody have to stay home. That is the government instruction. And then citizens will rely on online shopping and takeaway delivery services provider. At the same time, there is an online communication platform that increase, and also the digital learning, which is to ensure the education's continuity. So this is as today's coronavirus has recorded about 30 million, with death about nearly more than 571,000, which you can see the top 10 here, Brazil, US, Brazil, and now China is listed down here below, which is about at number 23, with the new case only recorded +7. So Malaysia is also way down, which is we have about 8,718. Okay, this is also to recap, after 56 days without a domestic COVID-19 cases, Beijing on the June 11 has reported cases which linked to Xinfanding wholesale market. The virus was actually detected from a chopping board that was used for imported salmon. So this Xinfanding market is actually a wholesale market, biggest in Asia, which is about as big as 157 soccer fields, which is about 251 American football fields. So it supplied nearly the entire 80% for Beijing entire farm produce supply. So these, with the quick actions, yeah, and also increased tests, which is about 40,000 people has been tested, government managed to control these situations. Since mid-June, new infection has been mostly limited in Beijing, which is about 240 cases, with some spillover in the neighboring Hebei. You know, while the rest of China have seen only a small trickle of single-digit infection, most of which were imported cases. So this is just to go through the hits to the economy for the first quarter 2020. China foreign trades in goods in quarter first has reached 943 billion USD, which saw a decline about 8.4% year-on-year basis. Export also fell about 13.3%, and import was also down by 2.9%, which trade surplus has flushed out of 82 down by 26% year-on-year basis. So you can see here also that GDP rates of China in 2020 also predicted about 3 to 6.1%. According to the China National Bureaus of Statistics, first quarter of China GDP has decreased by 6.8%. So urban employment rate has remained high, but fell slightly down by 6.2% in February to 5.9% in March. Job also has since fell about 20%. And then this is led by job losses across the entertainment and services sector, which is about 40%. And then all export-oriented company also has down by 26%. You can see that retail sales also fell about 15.8%. And then around 30 Chinese municipal have issued approximately about 30 billions on voucher to drive the consumption domestically. Yeah? So, and then Bank of China also has cut China interest rate based on 20 basis point, which is about 4%, from 4% to 3.85%. And then the survey of the household survey also has, in terms of earning, has significantly dropped by 22%, which also reduced the consumptions for the year. So if you see here, ASEAN has surpassed the EU to become China's largest trading partners. Yeah, for these durations, Malaysia remained China's second largest trading partner among ASEAN members. You can see that ASEAN has surpassed with 142.37 billion in terms of export. Yeah, increased about 8.4%. Malaysia accounts for 3.61% of China total import and ranked as China's 8th largest source of import in the first 3 months of 2020. And then China has imported quite about 16.8 billion worth of goods from Malaysia. And then you can see that for the periods of January to April, China has imported from Malaysia a bit decrease, but stay on the increasing trend, which is about 6.4%. So this is actually the outbreak. What are the sectors that affected? Yeah, the short-term pressure. You can see is that the from sectors facing crisis, from retail, catering, entertainment, tourism, hotel, feeding, construction, and so on. And then you can see that the growing sector taking advantage of this COVID-19 is the e-commerce, the online medical care, the medical supply and pharmaceutical insurance, and also the health-related industry, online entertainment, online educations, the telecommunication-related industry, the software development, as well as medical waste management. So again, you know, during these times, most of Chinese government instructions to stay home has allowed the citizen to rely on online grocery shopping and contactless delivery by taking some takeaway delivery service provider. You can see that fresh Herma under Alibaba has recorded about 300% growth. Yeah, but this is fresh grocery e-commerce online shopping players that recorded the highest growth. JD.com has increased about 374%, and Miss Fresh about 300%, and also the others providers also has increased about 220. So you can see that Meituan and Elima is the delivery services, which has about 20 deliveries, peoples that deliver 400,000 orders a day in Beijing alone. So for other sectors itself, you can see that pharmaceutical and medicines sales, especially mask and sterilizations products, and the alcohol were recorded the highest during this period with 1,270%. Yeah. So medicals, most of the online medical diagnosis platform also were all recorded high with it growth. You can see is that they have about 15,000 doctors online to assist on the about 600 diagnoses in February alone. Yeah. Okay, this is again on the deliveries on the takeaway delivery service, which records about 237%. With regard to software as a services, we from the research statistic, it shows a number of increase by 72.2%. Yeah. And then online entertainments, especially the movie, drama, and live webcasts, also has shown, that also turnover under Tencent under the Game of Honor of King has reached about 2 billion during the Chinese New Year period. Yeah? And then with these schools start to introduce online teaching, Ding Talk, one software developed by Alibaba also has been installed with 1.5 billion times during this special period, which the Tencent Education has also caught the opportunities. Okay, this is also to give the scenario of the high performing industry and low performing industry and other industry, especially the recreation industry, which has suffered most. Yeah. Okay, this is the foreign and renowned Chinese company in China that has been impacted by the COVID-19. There are the close, or there are the cutting their staff, or there are those, decided to call off some of their, like for example, the cruise, yeah, and then the Royal Caribbeans, and then Walt Disney also has been closed. And then you can see all these top brands, renowns, are really big impacted, the one that has been established long in China. So impact to the business during this COVID-19, you can see is that agriculture has dropped by 3.2%, manufacturing negative 9.6%, and services also about 5.2%. So you can see the worst affected trading partners for China, US has dropped about nearly 16 billion, and Hong Kong about 7 billion, and also Japan and so on. Yeah. So the worst affected export commodity was under this group. There is electrical machineries, nuclear reactors, as well as furniture and accessory. So I'm sharing with you again here that certain sectors of economy are recovering, but not rapidly. And then China retail sectors make a slow than expected recovery in March, actually. To combat this, China has enabled local government to issue consumption coupons. And then this has been issued in nearly 50 cities across 16 Chinese provinces, yeah, that they can redeem to participate in dining or shopping, travel. This is to create more consumptions, local consumptions domestically. Okay, under the area of support by the Chinese central and local government, they are providing foreign investment enterprises. This is under MOFCOM on the strengthening services for foreign enterprises and attracting investment. And also under the small and medium enterprises, which is under OUTBREAK. This is the provisional of proportionment in the principal and interest in terms of loan of FSME and also micro enterprises. While under STA, under tax and fee reductions, this is deadline of the tax declarations, financial support, and of course the trade and investment under MOFCOM. This is further reform and opening up and stabilizations of the foreign trades during the epidemic. Yeah. Okay, this is the impact and the opportunities. So, as I said earlier, this is the major sectors that taking lead in recovery. You can see that automotive, insurance, this is majors, but their speed of recovery is quick. They are actually paralyzed in the productions. The lockdown of the major urban areas and the travel restrictions has stopped the industries to proceed, yeah, and has experienced severe losses. While the government has raised public health spending under the pharmaceutical and healthcare, but restrictions of non-urgent health services has struck also the sectors under the pharmaceutical and healthcare. You can see that under the footwear, F&B, consumer goods and retail, there are shiftings, towards online channel, and accelerated the digitalizations of their operations, which has somehow moved the negative impact during the epidemic. This is the low industry that headed for a slow recovery, which is tourism. Tourism will need more time to return to the pre-pandemic performance. And then since most countries in the world restricted foreign demands or key export product of China, for example, like consumer agriculture, commodity mining, and also metal product, and this has a delay to recover these industries. While for the others is, of course, again, the disruptions that caused by the international supply chain. Okay, this is beside the challenge. This is some of the challenge that lead to the new solution. You can see is that there's a lots of growth during this crisis, especially on online and live streaming services. Yeah? For example, like the exercise, fitness, they have a new game like Ring Fit Adventures. Yeah? And then this is getting popular, online gyms as well as active game. And then in terms of educations also, online platform has giving this knowledge and skill that booming during this period that has developed for future generations. And then entertainment, this is interesting. They have these at Shanghai nightclubs, DJ live streamings and TikTok, and also created the atmosphere via the sounds and lighting effect. So you can always stay indoor and enjoy, your club nightclubs in this atmosphere. So travel actually, this travel by proxies, they have travel for, you can travel from your living room, in fact, and then you can, this is under Mei Feng Wu, who launched the live streaming travel, which hosted tourist expert. Okay, this is another challenges that lead to the new solutions, which is high-tech beauty categories, online sales, which has recorded about 459 compared the same period in 2019. And then you can see also the internet tech in terms of Medicare and healthcare models to shape the profoundly influence people's health consciously is become also famous and popular. And then leading internet based company like Meituan, JD, Suning, Baidu, they are also employing driverless vehicles. This is to continue to be influenced in people's daily, to assist this driverless vehicle for easy deliveries, logistic pressure. Okay, under the food and beverages, you can see that the impact during and after, and then what is how it has changed the shopping habit in the Chinese market itself. You can see that during the COVID, people's minimizing the grocery purchase, and because to reduce the risk of infections. So demands for like liquid dairies, confectionaries, beverages and alcohol as regardless as unnecessary food. So it's more like 80% of the Chinese citizen has changed their consumptions and shopping. And then basically they are stocking up the necessity foods like non-perishables, like instant noodles, and then frozen foods that last longer and easy to store. But after the COVID-19, you can see is that people are looking more with different tracks across the value chain. For example, they are concerned about food safety, the pack of the product to meet the rise of the in-home consumptions, and then safe online purchase, and then food deliveries with no-touch technologies, immune health food and product. And at the same time, this mindset of consumers, shift the consumer mindset and purchasing behavior. You can see that the shopping habit in these Chinese markets, opportunity. This is most probably our Malaysian company, would like to move forward and take some of this point, to look to the futures and the new state of the market itself, how to be localized, to be able to adapt, the shift of the functional and value added of the ingredient itself. For example, like here, demand for more on plant-based protein, and then also to support the wellness and the immune, health kind of product. And then we can see is that seniors are catching on to buy online as well. So we have a huge senior citizen now, is also buying online. So this is another areas that we might want to explore. And then basically these are comfort food and also premium product on the upswing as well. Okay, for the consumer electronics, we have been, expecting quite a huge numbers from Malaysia to China, but it shows a decrease of about 1.8%. But we hope when these, the resumptions of the manufacturers coming back, so we hope the demands for the importer of E&E material will start to increase back. We can see that this Chinese consumer electronic company is expected to increase. And then we hope this will give more, bright side from Malaysia's side, because we can see here about 24 new 5G smartphone is hit in the market last month. So there are about 6.21 million units, of this smartphone has been shipped domestically. So this is how we're going to pick up again in terms of consumers electronic for Malaysia. And then in terms of beauty industries, you can see here hygiene and healthcare, nutrition, skincare and personal care, that is growing significantly, which also respond to reduce this on the trust and health safety. So this is the potential. You can see is that there are increase in household cleaning, protective, and then we have the dairy product as well. There is ongoing penetration on the dairy immunity message. And then, the potential for professional standard home product as well. For example, like online hair colors, how to match, and then how to diagnose, and then online hair and skincare tutorial. This is becoming more, another side of business opportunities. Okay, we are talking about durian. Durian has also been hit for the last 3 months, with shipping's problems, warehouse, stock. And then, but we are seeing that the increase of this durian, our Malaysia durian, into the market. We can see is that for the first export of durians to China for the first quarters of 2020, recorded about 22 millions. That this shows that durian has not affected so much, And then we are seeing that the increase about tenfold in March, because there is a promotions that done together with Fresh Hama on the Chinese e-commerce fresh food platform, which has recorded about 2.62 millions on takeaway food platform, under the Meituan YMI on the May 20. So this is collaboration with Prashama of Alibaba. So we are expecting, since durian export to China has resumed for almost 18%, so we hope the new sessions for July, season for July and August is expected to increase. And then for the real estate and constructions, this is actually most of our Malaysia investment in China is also, lots of them are involving in real estate and construction. But the impact itself, we see that it was not huge. Yeah. So again, you can see that I think this one, Mr. Will later and Dato would elaborate more, the opportunity, because here from my observation, I can see that for foreign developer, there are a good opportunity to buy land. And then for investor, there might be available investment opportunity, and as well for consultant, talent is more important. So it's important to retain our talents in these sectors. Yeah. Okay. In terms of logistic, the logistic facilities and warehouses are high in demand. You can see that 40% growth in sales in February. This is for the online food deliveries and also grocery services. So we are seeing that these are warehouse space in locations that could have expedite the delivery. This is a growth that we are seeing again. So basically, the area of this greater economy would be in Yangtze River Delta, Great Bay Area, and also Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, and also Chengdu, Chongqing. So we can see that investors are fully aware about this potential. We have about 35 logistic developers, investors, and tenants across the Asia Pacific late in 2019. That's already revealed 94% of them plan to increase their investment in these grade A logistic in the next 5 to 10 years, which this grade A warehouse market will be much more bigger, more complex, and more mature and more essential than it is today. Okay, I'm talking about the new cross-border of e-commerce. In last April, yeah, the Chinese State Council has announced that they have set up another 46 new cross-border e-commerce pilot zone. On top of 59, which is already in exist. And then this has total about 105 zone in China itself. And then which cover 30 provincials, municipal and autonomous regions. Yeah? So this is opportunity actually to stabilize the foreign trade and investment amid of this COVID-19. So we are looking that this opportunity will lead more influx of more foreign brands into the Chinese market, as well as Malaysia export should, are encouraged to explore this opportunity to penetrate the Chinese market through this emerge of the new pilot zones. Yeah, we need to expose more Malaysia product through this zone that eventually would also increase our Malaysia export to China. Okay. For the tourism, I think we are actually, looking much forwards for Chinese outbounds to come back to Malaysia, for Visit Malaysia Year 2020. But again, we can see that tourists is becoming slow but smart. So what you mean by slow and smart? Of course, everywhere for the global tourist industry is expected to lose about nearly 22 billion this year, because of the number of outbound Chinese tourists. And then this is also of, misleading in the international media campaign as well. So cautiously, Chinese tourists, they will choose a place which are severely affected by the virus and also favor locations that have a high-class medical facilities. I think Malaysia is, one of the selections of the locations. So we are in a good favor for this. So Chinese citizens are starting to travel close to home also at this time of period. Yeah. So most probably our travel agents, might look into this aspect, to really promote doing marketing in that, focusing on this focus. So just to share with you also, we also aggressively MATRADE, every single week that we try to have virtual B2B business meeting. We have earlier MIHAS, which has been postponed. It's supposed to be in September, but now it has postponed to next year, 2021, which we have yet to know which month. So in between that, we, our China and Northeast Asia region desk in MATRADE, have this initiative to do the virtual B2B business meeting. So for the week of 22 to 26 of June, recently, we have from China and Hong Kong, we know that, I think it's difficult, but there is a buyer out there, that really, wanted to buy our product. So we have 8 buyers for China and Hong Kong. We have for Korea and Japan about 9, and in total about 17 buyers with about 66 business meeting. And then we managed to have the actual sales of 1 million USD and the potentials about 60.64 million USD. Yeah. So this is continuing. So we're going to have also in July. So every single, when there is request, then we will do it, so we are focusing every single month that we need to get in touch with all these buyers to update them with what we could supply and assist them. Yeah. Okay, this is what actually they are sourcing. They are sourcing neutral glove, F&B, frozen durian, frozen seafood, our palm oil product, cosmetic, ready material, and also petrochemical. Okay, this is the MATRADE trade promotion program in China. So we only have with 3, we have to cancel the other 3. So the one that we're going to take place is Car Expo. That will be 18 to 21 September. And then the CIIE, that will be in November. And also the Export Acceleration Mission to Chengdu, Sichuan, and also Zhengzhou, Henan. The date has yet to be finalized. Yeah. So this is the other event that we have to postpone, to cancel for this year. Yeah. Okay. That's that is overall that I need to share. Thank you for your time to listen, and then thank you again.
All right. Thank you very much, Puan. That's a very detailed and insightful presentation. I've got a few questions myself now, but we will leave that later. So I think next will be Dato Ong. Chong, your turn now.
Hi, Tengku.
Is my, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
So thanks for the introduction, and thanks Puan Razi for the very detailed insight of China's situation currently. So along with most countries in the world, Malaysia too is strongly impacted by the COVID-19 outbreak. On March 18, the Movement Control Order, or we call it MCO, was implemented, and people are prohibited to participate in group socializing, religious activities, educational programs, and many kinds of trading. Kindergartens, elementary and secondary school, and tertiary education institution had also stopped nationwide. And most of the government agencies were also forced to suspend their operations. Foreign tourists are restricted from entering the country, and Malaysians returning home are required to receive health check and undergo a 14 days self-isolation. This shows that the COVID-19 has systematically hit our economic and social activities, from production to consumerism, from the real economy to financial services. Almost all activities were halted during this pandemic. Perhaps the only sectors that benefited from it are the pharmaceutical, preventive medical supplies manufacturers, e-commerce, like Puan mentioned just now, and also delivery services. The lockdowns all over the world has interrupted the global supply chain, which causes our country's export to drop 25.5% in May, the worst in the past 11 years. As the market slowly unlocks, many big-scale economic projects start to resume operation. And with the economic recovery in China, China is our largest trading partner, our economy is expected to improve too. Unfortunately, for commercial activities, especially the street businesses, they may not recover as well as you would hope for because of the adaptation to new normal during the long period of lockdown and social distancing. So against the backdrop of this pandemic, it is not realistic for us to solely depend on our domestic market to revive the economy. Seeing the escalated tensions between China and the West, I personally feel that Malaysia should work closely with China in some areas that I will present later to enhance the economic complementarities during this difficult time. This will greatly help the Malaysian businesses, especially our SMEs, to sail through this adversity. I will share with you some slides. Okay, so go back. Okay, first, enhancing trade complementarities. The increased tensions between Trump's government and China has caused many barriers to both the Chinese and US companies. For instance, US restricts semiconductor manufacturing equipment, such as those produced by ASML, Applied Materials, KLA, Tenco, to trade their machine to China. This has distressed telecommunication giants like Huawei and ZTE because of their inaccessibility to the advanced microchip technology, especially those below 14 nanometer. Malaysia should grab this opportunity to penetrate this market in China, since our microchip technology has somewhat reached 5 nanometer or even 3 nanometer. So this is one of them, the semiconductor sector. So apart from microchips, Malaysia could also work on exporting more palm oil, like what Puan Razida mentioned just now. We can explore ways to increase our palm oil export to China, because this palm oil can be substitute to US soybean oil. And I'm sure that China will be in favor of this arrangement, as they won't need to be too heavily dependent on US. While on trade, we also have to tap, besides the durian that Puan mentioned just now, we also have to tap on the bird nest industry. Although the bilateral protocol for raw and unclean bird nest exports has been concluded years ago, to date, only one exporter, which is located in Malacca, is allowed to do this business. The lack of competition in this industry is staggering. It's almost like a monopoly for the past few months. Bird nest is a high-value agricultural product that generates 32.4 billion market, 32.4 billion yuan market value. Or some may argue that the disadvantages by merely exporting raw and unclean bird nests, but should instead encourage value added before exporting them. But the issue is, bird nest cleaning is not a high-income job, and so Malaysians are not interested. By allowing more raw and unclean bird nest exporters, it could provide opportunity for our bird nest farmers of all races to increase their sales volume. They will be presented with more options as to whom to supply to, either to the local bird nest operator or to China Direct, whichever more lucrative. In this regard, I hope Puan Razida, our MATRADE rep in Beijing, could help to push China customs for the approval of more Malaysian raw and unclean bird nest exporter. Next, the energy sector. Malaysia's energy industry has been the main driving force to the country's economic growth. In recent years, the energy industry has accounted for nearly 20% of Malaysia's GDP. Malaysia is a net exporter of crude oil and petroleum products, and we are also the world's third largest LNG exporter after Qatar and Australia. However, our high domestic consumption in this industry has stirred up an honest nest in compelling us to import low-cost fuel oil from the Middle East and other regions. To rectify this situation, Malaysia needs to put in a whole lot more effort in promoting green and environmental friendly industries, so to significantly reduce our own energy consumption. Hence, working closely with Chinese companies to absorb their capital and technology may aid our industrial chain expansion and generate high value added products in the green energy industry. For a long-term perspective, we should also seek to develop energy relations with China. One option is to establish a solid joint development of capital link and take advantage of the market proximity to offset the struggles brought by the economic depression and stunted oil price. This investment proposition could be favorable because China is the only country in the world that enforces protective oil price due to the monopoly of their state-owned enterprises. So even when the global oil price dropped drastically during COVID, the oil price in China is anchored at $40 per barrel in its macro management implementation. The fluctuating oil prices in the world market has a controllable impact in the Chinese energy industry. Therefore, working with China in this industry is also one of the best options to expand our energy sector in assurance of a stable oil market. So that's on the energy sector. So third, attracting investments fleeing from China. Several issues which include the China-US trade war, China's increasing global influence through medical assistance, some call it the face mask diplomacy, the mishandling of the COVID outbreak by the Trump administration, as well as Western interference in the Hong Kong affairs, had caused increasing uncertainties between China and the West, led by US. The current immense tension, which some scholars coin it as the new Cold War, has caused many Western MNCs to consider moving out of China and return home or relocate to other ASEAN countries. For example, the supplier of Honda, a company called FTEC, has planned to relocate from Wuhan to the Philippines. 23% of German companies in China, in a survey done by the German Chamber of Commerce, indicated intention to relocate. And US plans to develop a 4,000 hectares pharmaceutical industrial park worth of 270 million USD in Brabus, a rural area located 168 kilometers from Semarang. So besides Western companies, many Chinese companies too, especially those highly dependent on US and Europe markets, will need to relocate their plants to circumvent trade and non-trade barriers imposed by the West. The current global irresolution opens some window of opportunities to Malaysia in securing quality investments which could generate spillover benefits for our local SMEs, which were hit hard during this pandemic, and in due course, resolve our unemployment situation. To attract this investment, Malaysia businesses, such as the Malaysia-China Chamber of Commerce, our members, should actively help to spread the good news about the advantages of Malaysia being a preferred investment destination, which include our port efficiency, our excellent warehousing and logistic facilities, our attractive tax holiday packages, our ease of doing business, and also the low cost of living. So these are the few significant aspects that I can imagine are of relevant interest here that I could share. I shall pass the baton to our MACHAM chairman, Mr. Fung, for his eminent views now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato. Okay, there's some very interesting broad view and strategic positioning by those various large economies that may see the region, Malaysia including, can take advantage. So next, our third speaker, Mr. Fung. I will introduce Fung. Mr. Fung is currently chairman of MACHAM China, Malaysian Chamber of Commerce and Industry in China, based in Beijing. MACHAM China was registered in 2004 and is one of the 19 foreign chambers of commerce which is approved by the Chinese government and regulated by the Ministry of Civil Affairs. In the past couple of years, MACHAM China has been very active as the point of reference for government officials from both countries in matters of bilateral interest. Will has been in China for the past 15 years as one of the pioneer batches of registered senior foreign counsel with Grendel Law Firm, specializing in corporate and commercial M&As, FDIs, ODIs, and dispute resolution. With that, I give you Mr. Will Fung.
Thank you, Cheryl, the moderator, for a very kind and generous introduction. Puan Razida and Dato Chong, which I've had privilege to work with in the past few years, and also my very close friends. And I've always, seek their help and their guidance in matter pertaining to policy and regulatory matters. Thank you, and particularly to all the audience, thanks for staying up. Now it's 9 o'clock and it's Monday. So, well, just now the two very distinguished speakers, they have shared a lot of substance, a lot of information to digest. So myself, I want to share a little bit more on the practice and what's really happening right now in China. So my topic is the investment hotspots, emerging investment hotspots in China. So instead of try to attract Chinese investors to Malaysia, so I'm going to share with you what are the opportunities available going forward insofar as investment in China is concerned. I don't think I can share that. Well, no comparison because Puan Razi and Dato Ong, your sharing is a professional. I'm an amateur in that regard. So bear with me. I intend to take 10 minutes to share on this slide. I'm going to just take you through, and another 5 minutes or so to share with a real success example. Let me share my screen. Okay, is that fine? Okay, we are talking about what are the interesting places in China insofar as investment and trade is concerned. Many times we see a lot of delegations, they love to explore areas in first-tier cities, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou. But in order to penetrate into these first-tier cities, you've got to bear in mind, you need a lot of resources. And one of the common complaints is that we can never fight in these first-tier cities because of investment is particularly very high, and the labor cost, rental, etc., etc. So when you talk about investing in China, just take for example, if you have a certain product, you're talking about potential huge market in China. What is in your mind? There is a misconception. Everybody seems to repeat this story, every now and then. Is that true enough? China has 1.4 billion people population. If everyone thinks that you can sell $1 to each and every one of us, you would have a revenue of 1.4 billion. Easier said than done. That is a fantasy and will remain as a fantasy, believe me. So what would be a pragmatic and practical approach? We'll be talking about the potential market assessed. And for Malaysian products, first we've got to sit down and really examine our strength. What is our strength? What is our product strength? Can we compete with a developed nation, in terms of high-tech products, or in terms of packaging, food safety, that kind of international branding? Sadly, we may not reach that mark, or maybe we wish to think that we are there. But because of our underselling approach, maybe this is in our culture, Malaysian, we tend to undersell our potentials and our capabilities. So from the perspective of the Chinese consumer, how do they look at Malaysia? Go and try to do a survey, and whenever you've got a chance to speak to a Chinese friend, ask them, what do you think about Malaysia? what comes to their mind directly? They will tell you, well, Malaysia durian. Maybe some will say, okay, bird nest. Malaysia bird nest is good. And for industry player, they'll think about large commodity like palm oil. Three things. So Malaysia, we have been underselling our capabilities in China. And you've got to admit, Chinese knowledge on Malaysia is very limited because of the fact that our strategy that we tend to focus on the first tier cities people, and that sometimes may give some sort of awareness. But how about the other inner areas, the second, third, and fourth tier cities? Just want to challenge the audience. Are you aware that what is the number of international passport holders by the Chinese citizen? Make a wild guess. The answer is the among the Chinese citizens that have an international passport right now is less than about 130 million, slightly less than 10%. So how about the other 90%? The other 90%, they have never stepped their foot out of China. Why don't we sort of target them? These people, these are the people that should be our target audience. And where are they located? Look at, different, geographically, China is so huge. So look at the inner areas, the northern areas, the western parts within China. So having said that, now let's go into what are the areas, the potential areas that you can consider exploring your venture investment or selling your products to. Right now, as it is, China has 18 free trade zones. The latest 6 areas which has been added, initially there were 12 of them. Just very recently, 2019, they have added, if you can see from this slide, the year which has been sort of gazetted to be a FTZ. The 6 areas comprise of the latest addition: Shandong, Jiangsu, Guangxi, Hebei Province, Yunnan, and Heilongjiang. Each and every one of these FTZ, they have their own function. And I do not intend to take you through because this is too lengthy. I've promised MCCC that I'm going to share this slide with them. So after this sharing, maybe you can get a copy from them. So let's just briefly, take a short while to go through. You look at Shanghai, Tianjin, Guangdong, Fujian, Liaoning, Hubei. These are the provinces, some of the provinces that is very common to us. And each of these FTZs, they've got their own specific function per se, and backed up by the state council, the central government. So the central government spent a lot of effort and injected a lot of funds into this FTZ to ensure that it works. So to some of the audience, I'm quite sure many of you already know what FTZ is, but just to go through the motion, FTZs are preferential policies. They all got this kind of common threads. Preferential policies for import, handling, manufacturing, and exporting of goods, as well as providing tax incentives, free flow of capital exchange, fast track procedures for investment. So these are the few core common theme for this. Look at Tesla. Recently, I'm sure many of you must have heard, the well of Elon Musk have escalated to maybe number 6, surpass Warren Buffett. So he has set up the Tesla plant in Shanghai within the FTZ area by taking this kind of advantage. So we're talking about large and huge investment. So they can try to negotiate with the local government and try to get the best policies that they can afford. And when they decide to go to either one of these FTZs, they will look at many considerations. It's not just about tax incentives, it's about the entire supply chain per se. So for Malaysian investors, you've got to ask yourself, what are the things that you want to penetrate and gain market access to before we decide on which are the areas that you can consider. So these are some of the examples, and I'm going to take you through later. These are the second batch of FTZs gazetted. So insofar as Malaysia is concerned, you'll be looking at where? You'll be looking at Guangxi province. I wish to highlight this particular province. For Guangxi FTZ, specifically is targeted to open international thoroughfare and is a first right to ASEAN cooperation. They endeavor to set up a demonstration zone and to build a gateway for the West Sea Gateway Port. So these are the gateway. Insofar as ASEAN countries is concerned, you can get your goods and products penetrate via Guangxi. And for example, one of these recent sort of package, insofar as Malaysian player is concerned, is the bird nest. Just now, Dato has mentioned about the supply of raw bird nests, and within Guangxi province, they have already allowed and permitted, to date, 11 companies to have that kind of capabilities to receive those raw bird nests and to process it within that zone. Okay, so these are some of the things that Malaysians have to try. We have to try our best to take advantage on the FTZ status. I'll give you two examples in more thorough detail. The much talk about Hainan Free Trade Port, which recently they have fine-tuned and provided more details. This is a free trade port system focusing on trade and investment liberalization, and facilitation would be established in Hainan by 2025, and hopefully will become more mature in 2035. So it doesn't become the attraction overnight, but it takes a bit of time to build out that kind of momentum. So it aims to build the Southern Island province into a globally influential high-level free trade port. And hopefully by the mid of the century, we're talking about 2050. With effect from July 1st, there's a very recently, Hainan's annual tax-free shopping quota was raised from previously, that was 2 years ago, 2018, from 100,000 yuan per person each year, from the current 30,000 yuan per traveler. The categories of duty-free goods has also been expanded. These are just some of the examples. And when we talk about consumers, what does that got to do with us? You've got to bear in mind, Hainan Island is very unique. Hainan is situated towards the southern region. So they have a tropical sort of weather. So when it comes to winter time, places like Beijing and the three northeast provinces, the Heilongjiang, Liaoning, are extremely cold. So people would prefer to go to tropical places for vacation or to stay, for a period of 2-3 months. And of course, you say, why don't they prefer to travel abroad? travel abroad to tropical countries like within ASEAN region, Malaysia, Thailand. Yes, they do. But remember just now what I mentioned. There are only 130 million with international traveling passports. There are still about 90% of Chinese population that do not possess a valid traveling passport. So what would be the ideal place for them to sort of go for vacation, to get away from the winter chill? Hainan seems to be the first choice. This has also proven that the property price within Hainan, within Hainan Island, has escalated many folds. I think over the past 10 years, there was a statistics, you are looking at about 5 times to 6 times. And right now, on average across the board, per square meter is about 70,000 yuan. So it's catching up tremendously compared to property prices in Shanghai and Beijing and Shenzhen. So you look at that kind of potential. People would go there for vacation, and don't go there during winter time. Believe me, you're not going to enjoy it. So whenever you've got a chance to travel to Hainan, avoid the peak period, which is during the month of October towards mid of October until maybe January and February. And New Year, Chinese New Year Spring Festival is a no-no. It's a very big nightmare. So this is one of the free trade port that you could consider. Okay, next, let's talk about the incentives given to corporate investment for large investment. Of course, this is on a case-to-case basis, yeah. It doesn't sort of have a application across the board per se, but you've got to apply. You've got to apply, and it depends on what kind of industry you're in. So corporate tax generally, will be lowered to 15%, and there's no sort of true magic to that, because I believe right now a lot of countries all over the world are trying to have and trying to create this kind of free trade zones and try to lower down the tax bracket, and so that to appeal, to pull foreign direct investment into their respective country. So 15% may not be the sole factor, the pull factor for a lot of companies. However, if you combine, other incentives per se, exempt income tax on proceeds of new outbound direct investment for companies in tourism, modern services, and tech-intensive sectors. And right now, these are broad category, and you can go further and try to, subdivide into specific sectors. And one of which is in my profession. And right now, a lot of the big cities law firm, first-tier law firms, are even considering setting up our sort of our HQ or our offices in Hainan to try to take advantage of the package that avails to the players. So of course, this is hopefully by 2025. So you still have a chance, to be the prime mover, to be the first batch of players. So whoever that gets in first will have a bargaining power with the local authority. And next, we'll be talking about income tax rate for individuals with a high skill level, and of course in high demand expertise. And if you look at the 15% bracket, that is really very appealing. Just give you an indication. On average, if for a lot of expats, you'll be looking at effective tax of about 33%, but the tax bracket, the highest cap can go up to 45%. That means every $100 that you earn, you've got to do national service and contribution to the PRC government, you've got to pay $45 to them. So having said that, so you see how the Chinese government sort of plan and strategize their thing in order to attract talents. They fix a tax rate at 15% for X number of years. Again, depends on industry and depends on the employment opportunities you're going to create for Hainan FTZ. And third, to simplify the existing value-added tax, consumption tax, vehicle purchase tax, urban maintenance and construction tax, education surcharge, blah, 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 blah. There are a lot of different types of tax. So if you're comparing to Malaysia, I think we're much simpler. You know, SST. Sorry, you know, for now it's GST. So maybe SST will be brought back. But for China, the tax regime is really a very complicated thing, and you need to consult tax advisors to help you in planning, you know, to take advantage of that. So just now I've mentioned zero tariff for certain imported goods. You can see what are the things that fall into that broad, you know, three categories: tourism, modern services, and tech-intensive sectors. I believe a lot of companies in the past couple of months, they have also approached and appealed, you know, my team, and to try to utilize this. And even for some of the Malaysian players who already, you know, have operation in China, especially in first-tier cities, they are in. It's a good time to do housekeeping, especially, you know, during this relatively slow business activities period during this pandemic, and they're exploring what kind of things that I can try to fight for in Hainan FTZ. The next thing is this will be the last free trade zone that I'm going to share. I'm just going to touch on two. I think it's more connected to Malaysian investors or Malaysian players. And you must have heard about China and Guangdong pilot free trade zone. This is to cater for the big ambitious plan, the Greater Bay Area. It's called GBA. So there are a lot of things, a lot of press release and media news talking about GBA is to connect three areas. That is China, especially Guangdong, Macau, and Hong Kong, SAR. So within this GDFTZ, it covers three areas. One is at Nansha, within Guangzhou, Qianhai and Shekou, there's within Shenzhen, and Hengqin of Zhuhai. So I'm sure that the audience, you're not a stranger to these areas, especially for those that have frequent visits to China. This is very much a place near to your heart. So why not explore this possibility and to find out more? It doesn't matter, if you just have a simple product. For example, a biscuit. You know that Malaysia, we've got a lot of this kind of snacks, a lot of biscuits, and you would consider exporting to China. So I'll be talking about the taste. People in Guangdong, in the southern area, their taste is very similar like us, as opposed to the northern region folks. Just another example is that some coffee, Malaysian coffee, white coffee. Right now, I was given to understand that there are about 300 to 400 different kind of brands, white coffee brands. And from Malaysia itself, we're talking about, easily half of it. And the other half is from Vietnam. So the people in Guangdong, area, or the southern region, the GBA area, they are more accustomed to our kind of face here in Malaysia. So do consider these areas to begin with. Okay, this is about the FTZ. I'm going to spend another 3 minutes. Sorry for taking up so much time. Another 3 minutes to tell you a little bit of two success case. One is recently I've just met with a instant noodle manufacturer, a very relatively big player in Malaysia. I'm not going to mention the name. They told me for many years they've been trying to penetrate into China market. They try to gain access, but it did not work out for all for different various reasons and considerations. And lastly, what happened is Zhejiang with Alibaba e-commerce platform and strongly backed up by the Zhejiang government, they sort of told the biggest buyer insofar as food F&B products is concerned. So they sort of strike a deal with them. And this particular manufacturer, Malaysian manufacturer, they're very smart. They've got a very huge R&D department. They say, okay, what would be the things that they like? They exported one product. I think in the month of maybe they started in October last year. And when it comes to 11/11, last year, every year there's a big sale, mega sale, 11/11. You know what happened? That product apparently is very spicy, one of the spiciest instant noodle in Asia. It boomed, just boom, for no apparent reason. And what happened is, come towards pandemic, starting from January, February, and instead of seeing a slow growth in consumption of the product, they saw a 500% demand. And guess what? Within a very short period of time, they've imported to date about 100 containers to China. This is one success product, yeah? The next one, we're talking about a chain business, Mary Brown Chicken. Mary Brown Chicken, we know in Malaysia we've got here and there we've got quite a fair bit, but in Malaysia you almost don't see them in first tier cities. I believe they started their first branch in Xinjiang province. So what they're trying to say, what they're trying to sell is that this is a very unique, halal chicken, and they appeal to the local consumers, and they are doing extremely well as so far as their strategy, their market strategy is concerned, because they started in that inner area in Xinjiang rather than starting from the first tier cities and penetrate into the inner provinces. So just try to imagine and try to learn from this success story, and how the entrepreneurs really put in a lot of effort to study market access. Start from where? Is it from outside team or inside out? So with that, Tengku, I'll leave it back to you, and feel free to raise any questions. Happy to share. Yeah.
All right, great, Will. Thank you so much. Okay, there's quite a number of interesting opportunities to Malaysians, Malaysian businesses, investors, and so on. I just don't know how to put them together. Whether it makes sense for the government, say MATRADE, MITI, and so on, to look at all these opportunities and approach these different state governments or FTZs and have a deeper talk, or does it make sense for individual companies on their own? For instance, I saw there were new CBECs, cross-border e-commerce, for instance, trying to encourage foreign businesses into China. Have we identified whether any of these are more open to products from Malaysia? Regardless of whether these are programs by Chinese governments to So I believe different regions, different CBCs of disease, maybe they are more relaxed or not. I'm not sure. So should we study which policy let companies explore themselves? Perhaps any of you can answer that.
Puan Razi, as your domain.
Okay, the e-commerce itself, is the thing happening in China right now. Not right now. It has been there. It's a huge market, and then it's expanding, and then a lots of new things, apps. It has been introduced during this COVID-19. So you were saying is like what kind of corporations that we are doing right now, to tap into this e-commerce. There's so much, We have, for example, like MATRADE, we have these e-trade programs, We encourage a lots of companies who wanted to sell on the e-platform, to join MATRADE e-trades. And then we have all these collaborations with all these commerce, bodies in China, for example, like Alibaba, we have the JD.com, we have Suning, we have quite numbers, the e-commerce platform itself. There are about 5,000, e-commerce established in China. So different provinces have their own specialized, e-commerce. But the huge one, of course, Alibaba and JD.com and Sunings. So we we have worked with also China Post. We also work with a few of others e-commerce platform. Yeah. So knowing that we have this digital DFTZ, so it's always almost complete this DFTZ. So we need to put in more contents, to be able to have these, activities going on. So we have to have more training to our local peoples. Our e-commerce market also is also kind of active right now. You can see a varieties product has been sold. It's not only like last time it's food, it's only like fashions. But now you can see more, like now with the Razida, with Shopee, with, Wow, Shop, everything, electronics, everything. I think this is really encouraging and give more, wider exposure for our people. So these collaborations of Huawei is in place, is talking with MIDA right now, how they can assist in terms of having this software, having these artificials, the big data, everything. So they are talking actually with MIDA how to put the ecosystem in Malaysia. Of course, Alibaba is here for the platform of the FTZ, but the other things is also coming in. And then I think we also MATRADE at our stand here, having a training with our SMEs, just to give them more informations, the updates, like now, the most popular using platform, add to the platform of e-commerce is the live streaming. I think Tuan Wheels and also Dato would agree, this because live streaming is easily viral, because people pick the things easily. If you want to do a promotions, if you want to, highlight your products, your new product, this live streaming using the KOL, the key opinion leaders, is one way of the platform to really lead, to reach the mass. Like Tuan Will was saying, the knowledge of people in China is very limited. Of course, we are only know like 4, for one tier is only 4: Beijing, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and also Chengdu. But now under first tier, we already have like at 15 more, 15 more of cities. So Wuhan is now also is first tier, Wuhan, So we have to go and visit Wuhan after this, after the pandemic is more or less like stable and safe. So we need to really, go out. Like Mr. Will says, people don't know us, certain part, only at event, at events only. After events, you are not so reachable for the other particular tiers and markets. So e-commerce is the thing. So I think everybody is working on it. I think responsibility of MATRADE, yes, responsibility of Maychamps and Dato under their bounds, to create more awareness, to create the visibility of digitalizations. We are here, people have been talking about this for the last 5 years. So ASEAN going to lead. So it's true, ASEAN going to lead. So come, bring forward, and then we drive more on these digitalizations. Thank you.
Anyone else want to answer that, or we are okay to move on to the next question?
Okay, Tengku, maybe I agree very much with what Puan Razi has mentioned. We right now the marketing trend in China seems to be using KOL. So why not? Let's in the midst of all these huge mega superpower tension, and if Malaysian, we can just focus on generating business activity. We just talk about business, and don't get into geopolitics. That's your domain. Don't get into this tension, this and that. But let's try to concentrate building out our KOL, and try to export our KOL to share with the Chinese consumer, potential target audience, about the product that we have. And in terms of food product, this is really something that there is something to be learned from Thailand. I think a lot of recognition and a lot of credits go to their sort of agencies or whatever, and they are creating the kind of whenever we talk about snacks, talk about just daily products, consumables, they tend to have that mindset that hey, Thailand's things is very nice, is very good. So I think compared to Thai products, we are not that inferior, So we have to buck up, and MATRADE has been doing a tremendous job. I can bear witness to that, and we have been trying our ways to try to be creative and things like that. But having the agency's effort alone is not sufficient. The players, the industry players, we also got to be sensitive of what are the needs right now. Especially, very sadly to say that right now, in the past 1 month, you see a lot of natural disaster happening in Thailand, and these are the time that we can really study, look at what are the needs. Food product would remain as the biggest sort of a sense of insecurity insofar as Chinese government, or the people's mind. So, but we do have that kind of advantage. But are we going to consolidate our aqua-based, products and try to sell it in a concerted sort of form and strategy? So if we can do that, I tell you, bingo. And next, we'll be exporting a lot of our grouper, our marvelous, tropical fish aqua products, agri products to China. And in fact, this is one of the things that we are working very closely with our respective agencies, and try to find a way to penetrate into China. And I believe, Puan Razi, your department is crazily busy over all this potential. So now is the time. Now is the time for Malaysian to seize the opportunity.
All right, great. We are actually 9:30 now. Wow. Anyone wants to have some last comments, whatever? I was very surprised at that online tourism, with only 140 millions having international passports. The rest are on online tourism. Just imagine if we have visitation to paddy field in Chinese in their homes. We can do something like that. What's stopping us? Export your content. your tourism content to China through the e-platform. So that should be quite interesting. So I think we are already towards the end, and I thank you very much to the three speakers, Puan Razi, Dato Ong, and Mr. Will, for the very insightful presentations, and I'm sure they are available to for further discussions. You can contact MCCC if you don't have their contacts. And again, thank you also to participants for taking your time to listen to what we have to say. All right.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So that's great. Are we already out of the participants? Are we on our own now?